Hello everyone! This time we're going to explore the basic functionality of the multi-track mode of OXI One. It's great for sequencing drums, monophonic melodies, experimenting with polymeter, and generating new ideas. If you like our video and content, please like and subscribe. It encourages us to keep making more tutorial videos. The multi-track sequencer is one of the most versatile modes of the OXI One. It's basically 8 tracks in one sequencer, starting with track 1 at the bottom and track 8 on top, following the piano roll logic of lower notes below and higher above. It's perfect to have direct control in just one layout by having few melodic patterns and some drum tracks in the same page. Or it can also be a good place to store your monophonic sequences, then in other sequencers to free them up. Each row represents a separate track with independent initial and endpoints, time division, and up to 128 steps. The multi-track mode also includes 2 LFOs and 8 modulation lanes, one per track. LFOs can be assigned to one or more tracks. We will cover that in depth in another tutorial. But for now, let's dive into the building blocks. Let's start by setting up each track to sequence your drums. You can assign different MIDI channels to different tracks, or we can do it by setting a bass note for each track, depending if your drums have independent MIDI channels by track, or if they respond to different bass notes on the same MIDI channel. To assign a MIDI track, first enter track menu by either holding the respective sequencer number and pressing the first pad of the track you want to configure, or hold the first pad of the track you want to configure and press the respective sequencer number. Turn the first encoder to select the MIDI channel you wish to use and press the encoder to confirm. I want to select my kick channel, which is MIDI channel 1B. To assign a bass note in case your drum machine responds to just one MIDI channel and different notes for each sound, again, enter the track menu by either holding the respective sequencer number and pressing the first pad of the track you want to configure, or hold the first pad of the track you want to configure and press the respective sequencer number. Turn the second encoder to select the bass note of the sound you wish to sequence. And now, each track is assigned to a different drum sound as you hit the pads of each track in the drum view. For full customization, steps have various parameters. This can add more variety and complexity to a short sequence. To access the step parameters page, long press the step to enter the menu for ease of use. Let's edit the parameters of a few of our hat steps. In this page, you can set values for velocity, note, setting the pitch information for each step using the encoder, gate, where 50% indicates it's half the duration of that step, which in this case it's a 1/16 note. Modulation amount value per step, which we will see in the future video in depth. Let's edit a few of our hi-hat steps to illustrate what we just saw. When the step chord button is active, or tapping the Shift key while holding a step, it will take you to the step submenu. Here you can edit track glide, a track parameter that changes the time it takes for the continuous pitch to reach the next note, meant just for control voltage sequencing. It doesn't work over MIDI as there is no MIDI glide. Probability are especially useful in multi-track mode since it allows you to create evolving patterns using very little steps. For example, setting 50% probability will play the step with the 50% chance. Logic conditions are past 100% probability when turning the encoder. For example, 1/4 will play the step 1 time out of 4. Fixed and locked, as the name says, locks the step, so if you apply randomization, the step will not be affected. We will dive in locked steps in a future video. Retrig sets the time the note is triggered during the step duration up to 5 times. For better resolution, change the time division of the sequencer or track. Offset sets the time deviation of the note from -40 to 40% of the current time division. 25% is a quarter deviation from the duration of that step. Now that you know how to configure the sequencer to play and the power of step parameters to create complex sequencers with little steps, let's move on to track functions. In multitrack mode, by default, the function button on the left will only affect the selected track. This way, you can, for example, change the start and end of a track pressing either initial or end plus a pad. Double or half the time division of a sequence using Shift plus init or Shift plus end. Shift and transpose the pattern of a track using Shift plus the arrows. Create a new sequence with Euclidean generator, pressing Shift plus random button. Clear the sequence using Shift plus clear button, or undo your last clear. The encoders for global velocity, gate, and modulation also affect the selected track only. Now, to identify which track is selected, OXI One will light up the first and last step of the track in orange if they have no notes on it, and the active ones will show in a brighter color. OXI One has 3 ways to select a track for editing: by doing a combination of pressing the sequencer button and any pad. Hold any pad long enough not to toggle the step. The track of this row will be selected as highlighted by the orange LED on the first step. When the track selection priority setting is enabled on the workflow option in configuration, tapping any pad of different track changes to that track as highlighted by the orange LED. And in Div menu, using the first encoder. In the same workflow configuration page, you can also deactivate the orange indicators if you wish so. It's also possible to use the function buttons to affect all tracks at once. Press first the respective sequencer button, and then any of the regular button commands. This also works for global velocity, gate, and modulation, affecting all tracks at once. For example, doing random generator on a track using Shift plus random creates a monosequence on the selected track by randomizing the pitch, gate, velocity, and time offset. But randomizer on all tracks, using sequencer button plus Shift plus random, creates a rhythmic pattern on all tracks, keeping the same notes per track, ideal for drum kit use. Or perhaps you want to change the initial and end steps of all tracks at once. Simply hold sequencer button plus initial or end and the desired step to define the length. In multitrack mode, if you tap the keyboard button, you'll see the drum view. This view can be useful in a live situation or to perform all tracks at once as a drum kit, with velocity ranges going from lower to higher on the pads. In drum view, you can also quickly mute, solo, and apply rolling to tracks. First to 12th column is the performance area. Thirteenth column is the roller function, which we'll see in another video tutorial. 14th column is the arm track, which we'll also see in another video tutorial. 15th column is mute per track. Sixteenth column is solo per track. These views are perfect to preview, play, and perform your sounds and ideas. The multitrack mode allows to mute and solo individual tracks, so you have better and wider control of your compositions, jams, and performances. Let's go through them. During playback, use these shortcuts to mute and solo tracks from the editing view. Pressing mute plus first column, it mutes and mutes the respective track. The first column will light in blue to show if a track is unmuted, and no light to show it's muted. Muted tracks will show pads in white. Mute plus 16th column. It's solo, group, or solo no solo the respective tracks, which will be shown with a yellow pad to indicate it's solo. Mute plus any other column pad, it mutes and mutes the selected step for playback, shown in purple to indicate the step is muted. If instead you wish to clear all tracks, press Shift and hold Clear to remove all the steps. The bass note, divisions, MIDI channel will be kept. If you accidentally did not meant to clear all the tracks, use the Redo button to retrieve your previous work. You now have the basics to use the multitrack sequencer. We will dive into more functionalities in the next videos, so remember to subscribe and turn on the bell to our channel to get the notifications for the next multitrack videos. I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon!
Don't Don't want